Welcome, everybody, to the Black and White History Podcast. We are your hosts, Christian, and...
You remember when I said that if you use your middle initial in your, as Ulysses S. Grant, and that's the only one I can think of.
Harry S. Truman.
Harry S. Truman and George W. and H.W. and... and that makes you really presidential. And then, of course, as soon as I said that, the next one's Rutherford B. Hayes, which sounds like it should be great, and it just... Rutherford made a liar out of me, is what he did.
Okay. How much of good old Ruthie did you know before?
Well, how do you nickname him? Is it Ruth? Is it just Ruthie? Probably. How much did I know about him before? I know he had a silly name, and so I knew Rutherford B. Hayes was a president. I had no idea what he did, and that's...
Yeah, I think we're kind of at the point where it's...
We're just waiting for World War I at this point.
Well, it's
Teddy Roosevelt.
Lincoln, and then, Ulysses S. Grant, and then just kind of like a hodgepodge of stuff until Teddy Roosevelt.
And the Rough
I guess
Riders.
kind of Cleveland.
Yeah.
It's kind of out of that whole bunch
Is
in between those.
Grover.
He's probably the only one that's...
We'll get to him.
Yeah.
We got to get through these jokers first.
Yeah. I... Obviously, the Gilded Age.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely in the Gilded Age now.
Mm-hmm.
And
terribly named. I don't know why. It makes it seem like something cool happened, and nothing cool happened. All that happens is everyone suffered, and 4 people in the country got really, really rich, and everyone else suffered.
Yeah, it's definitely a big classism restructure happening right now.
I'll say.
Until we get Teddy to come in and be like,
"What's all
down.
this thing?
Yeah.
We're not doing that." Yeah.
But,
so Ulysses S. Grant is out.
Mm-hmm.
He's old and sick and has throat cancer.
Yeah.
He's poor and old and sick. And so now I think an important kind of somewhat rabbit trail of the context, because we kind of touched on it in Grant, was before this kind of time period, before the Civil War, the government was still really, really relatively small. And having a government job wasn't the prestige or the security that it is, that a lot of people think it is now. It was kind of just not a low level job, but it was it's a clerical work. It's not, I work for the federal government. No one really felt like that. It was just sort of a thing, but it did pay and it was steady work. And especially in Grant's presidency, when the economy started to tank, steady, good-paying jobs from, the government's not a business, so it just generates its own income through taxation. It doesn't have to produce anything. It just takes money and functions, which, I suppose it makes some level of sense, but that leads to, how do I say this? It leads to a certain amount of potential for grift, and that's kind of what happened, certainly in Grant's presidency, and it didn't get better with Hayes. Spoiler, Hayes wins the election, I guess. But, the bartering of federal jobs and I know your friend and you owe me a favor, or I want you to do this for me, so I'm going to give your cousin a job at the post office.
Or, we're right in the thick of the spoil system.
Exactly. Exactly. You barter.
They're creating jobs for friends and stuff that don't I'm the assistant to the regional manager.
Yes, I'm the assistant to the assistant postmaster general of Bumblescum, Tennessee, Screen Door, Iowa, or something like that. So, the federal government bloats in size, but it is stagnant in actual efficiency and productivity. These are not dedicated employees. They're just grifters who are taking a paycheck and doing the bare minimum, if anything. A lot of them are using that as an opportunity for insider trading kind of things, because all the laws and stuff that gets talked about and passed, they pass across your desk and you hear the rumors first, and so you have the potential to take action before the public sees it. Not that ever happens today. That's just an exclusively 19th century problem. Yes, 19th century still. And so that's kind of well established by the time the election of 1876 comes in. It's the parties run the government, and not necessarily for the betterment of government. Everyone kind of skims off the top. It's a rare person who doesn't skim something off the top. So yeah.
Yeah, we're at the end of Reconstruction. trying to help figure out what to do with the South.
And then we just kind of give up. We're like, I don't know.
And obviously, whenever the government does anything, that means spend money on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Throw money on this, make the problem go away.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the, like a... I'm not super mean to I mean, I think it meant really well, Reconstruction, like in terms
Did
of
they?
like, well, I mean, in terms of like, you know, you want to try to protect voting rights for everyone, and you know, you want to take down the Klan, and you know, whatever.
I mean, so publicly at least, you should say that you want to.
So, but obviously, you know, like anything, it costs money. So, Reconstruction is a really big contention between both sides, and so you have. That on top of all the political corruption and everything. And so Hayes comes out and is basically, we need to stop there's too much corruption going on. They're like, wasn't it your side that I said there's too much corruption going on? Like, wasn't it your brother that worked for I said, no, I don't know if that's true, but
probably. I mean, yeah.
Point is, and instead of relying on what to do with Reconstruction, pro or against, Hayes is just kind of like, let's just focus on something else. Maybe he's like not ditching Reconstruction. I mean, there's kind of the sense of it is too early. It's this Jim Crow song I keep hearing about, and I don't want that to turn into something. So maybe we can still have Reconstruction a little bit, but not really talking about it at all.
Yeah, there's not a lot of public will for Reconstruction and integration of the freed slaves at this point. And like I've said before, once you have enough time and distance away from a crisis like the Civil War, like the general public will to spend more money and more time and resources and just mental energy thinking about, talking about, it's all the papers talk about, is this, that, and the other, for an issue that never affected me and I never really cared about. Like, in the best case, I never really cared about it, and it doesn't really affect me positively. I mean, on the whole, it kind of affects me negatively. Now we have injected 4 million new workers that are coming to that need jobs and need houses and need land, and now that's stuff that I can't get, you know, in their minds. So it's a net negative for most people who were kind of on the fence about it to begin with.
Right.
What, now we're 17, no, less than that. The Civil War started in 1860.
Yeah.
So we're 17 years on from it now.
We're well over a decade.
Yeah. So a lot has happened since then.
So with that, so Hayes focuses a lot too on the Civil War. And like, look how great the party was. Because Grant, as great of a guy he was, just the popularity of his administration was not popular.
Not a popular guy. Started off great. Big hopes. Not a lot got done. Kind of turned a blind eye.
Yeah. So Hayes is kind of going back into, because usually if it's, Reagan is, that's probably the most recent example of that. But the previous, great Republican president, or previous one with Lincoln, well, he's dead. So it's like now you have Grant as the example.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't really want to go with that. So let's just go with the Civil War. The Civil War is great. We need strong leaders like that, and we need to be unified that way. And it's like we said, we're 16 years past the start of it. And it's kind of, and so Samuel Tilden, he's the Democrat nominee, and he's kind of takes on this old Jeffersonian style of like, you know what, we just need to let the Constitution just do its thing and stop bringing up this old, it's old news now. It's kind of like if we were still bringing up 9/11.
Well, we never forget.
Yeah. But in terms of, just
like motivating public policy.
Right.
It's like, but that was also 24 years ago. Yeah. Like the iron is cold at this point. Yeah. And the idea to let the Constitution kind of do what it wants, like, oh, that sounds great in principle. However, we've seen with the president before Grant, when you just sort of let the Constitution do whatever, it looks a lot like the South before the Civil War. So everyone's like, you don't try to do a sneaky on me. We know what you mean when you say that. We don't do. So it does have some appeal, again, because the people are kind of just tired of hashing this issue out over and over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think there was a line I saw too where it was Hayes on the campaign trail or whatever was, not every Democrat was a rebel, but every rebel was a Democrat. Kind of thing, and it was in terms of the Civil War kind of stuff, and so it's kind of aiming low.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, all right, Ruth, sure, but come on now. Like, wasn't Lincoln's whole thing like, hey, we're all one country now, and now you say you got a musket ball to the back of the head for that. So I guess that's a theme apparently now. We'll future spoilers.
Okay, so this election though is
It's interesting.
it is the closest election in history, and so I'm going to go ahead and just bring up the map, and then I'll
Closer than Florida in 2000?
This was like the whole country was Florida in 2000.
Oh, we need a recount.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get into that. There's more than you think will happen with that. Okay, so you have to have 185 electoral votes to win. And Hayes, as you can see, has 185 to 184.
Ooh.
So Anne loses the popular vote. I think it was like the first time that had happened at this point. So
Not a strong mandate.
yeah,
to govern.
So usually, it's the South. You think the South is going to do what the South is going to do, but you have Louisiana, Florida, and South Carolina, which go red. And originally, those were supposed to all be blue. And then Oregon as well had another one of their electorates tried to vote while not showing up, and he was a Republican, and the governor of Oregon at the time was a Democrat, and he said, hey, that's unconstitutional, you can't send in your vote unless you're present, so we're getting rid of your vote, and there's this Democrat elector right here, we can just have him since he's standing right in front of me.
Yeah, because that's how electors work.
So at that point, the count was 184 to 165 in Tilton's favor, but you have to have 185 to win. Now it's 270, but at the time it was 185. So what do we do? Well, they whole bunch of I'll get more into the why these southern states went red. On both sides, tons of election fraud, ballot stuffing
In Florida?
Yeah, right. Yeah, what's old is new again.
History doesn't.
I'll do it right this time.
No, I'm too scared.
So, a bunch of election fraud, and you have ballot stuffing to the point where some of the districts actually had over 100% voter turnout. So, which no district would ever even vote 100% anyway. It's always like, the voter turnout in the country, every presidential election, it's like 65% or something. And it's
that's
way
that's
lower. Yeah, it's like lower than you think it should be.
Yeah.
Just in the general populace.
Nope, everybody voted.
Yeah.
Every single person came out and voted, and it turns out they all voted for my guy.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Right.
That's crazy. That's a historic win.
But even though you have, kind of a winner of who should be the Republican or the Democrat in the southern states, and those South Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana in particular, there's basically like mini civil wars happening, and the electors in those states weren't unified at all, and there was people switching sides, and there was a
lot of horse trading
You
happening.
couldn't just have a clear people voted this, we're gonna go with all our electoral votes for that guy. So like I said, even though those states originally went for Tilden, it still wasn't enough to get the majority. So then they go, okay, Grant sees this because he's still president, and he's like, well, we can't go to Congress because it's split. You have the one side is the majority of Senate, and the other side is the majority of the House.
So that's not going to solve it.
So he ends up, and now we're like in January. So this has been like going on and debated for a while. So they end up having. Oh, and actually, okay, I want to say this too. So this is nowadays when you have your ballot, it's just a generic and it has everyone on it, and you just circle who you want, and you put it in the thing, and you put it in the big envelope, and you send it in. Back then, if you wanted to vote for a candidate, you were given a specific ballot to that candidate. So it would say R on it. I want to vote for Hayes. Okay, here's the R ballot. I want to vote for Tilden. Okay, here's the D ballot. Or it'd have like a picture of like... It was for people who didn't know how to read, basically. So, but they knew Republicans started with R. They knew what Abraham Lincoln looked like because it had his face on the thing and stuff like that. Well, a lot of... ballots, especially in the South where this was happening, was there would be, someone would come up, I want to vote for the Republican. So they'd give you the ballot and you'd see it have R, but then you'd open it up, unable to read the name, and the name on there was Samuel Tilden. And so you would circle that name and then hand it back thinking that you voted for Rutherford B. Hayes, and then they would open it, see.
Oh, well, there
then,
it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
That was a huge thing too. So there was like, should we run another election? Should we do this? And then they get Congress involved, and then it's not working out because it's split, and it's really, pretty gross back and forth on all this. Hayes has to go in hiding because there was people had ransacked his house and like shot through his windows and everything, and that's a whole thing in itself. So yeah, in January, Grant creates the neutral Electoral Commission. And he has. Have you heard of any of this? No. This was all new to me.
No, I've not heard of any of this.
Quite the thread. That
I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah. So he goes, okay, we're gonna have a new government system where we have 15 people that are going to debate and decide. And
what? You're going to do what?
And it's odd numbered on purpose because you want to
have... We have to win. Someone has to win.
Right. So he has 7 on one Democrats and 7 Republicans. And then the 15th person was a Supreme Court judge by the name of David Davis, who was...
That's a creative name.
Yeah. Who was truly neutral. The only Supreme Court judge that like had a really like he never endorsed either candidate before all this happened, and so it's like he's like, okay, sure. You know what? I don't know. I don't even care about which guy, so I'll be the guy to do the tiebreaker if it, you know.
Sure.
But then Indiana ends up convincing him to leave the Supreme Court to be a senator.
Oh no!
And he ends up taking it. And this is in the middle of this happening, and there's a lot of questions of maybe they were some sort of bribery with that, you think? And maybe some sort of favor later on.
You want to leave your lifetime appointment at a critical juncture to become a senator?
Yeah.
And maybe... No, he just decided that one day.
So now he's gone. So like, okay, well now what do we do? So then Grant ends up appointing another judge who has a more Republican lean. And he says, you know, I'll try to make it as fair and unbiased as possible, and be, you know, as neutral as I can. So
sure.
Take that for what it's
everyone
worth.
Else has been so far.
Yeah. So, but, you know, they end up voting, and they just give Hayes the victory.
Wow.
At least you think.
Wow.
But then, because Democrats hold the Senate, they say, no, we're going to filibuster, and we don't care how long
we will stand at the podium for 4 years.
So Tilden's not out yet.
Bring me a bathtub. I'm sitting at the podium.
Mm-hmm. And then before the filibuster, the whole thing gets killed because then there ends up just being this kind of corrupt bargain, or just, you know, more of just a wave the white flag.
The compromise
of
1870.
Yeah. And it basically goes down to what the Senate wants, which is the Democrat majority, is please if you become president, or we will lift our filibuster if you completely take Reconstruction off the mat, take all the Union soldiers out. I mean, just a hard cut, rip the Band-Aid off. Then we will lift the filibuster, and you can be president. And he said, okay, fine.
Bet.
And then a couple weeks later is inauguration.
It's a miracle upon miracles. Yeah. I've won the presidency fair and square with a clear mandate from the people. And no horse trading in the back rooms. It's totally legit. Don't look into it until 100 years later.
So, of course, he ends up being a huge compromise figure.
From the beginning.
He gets nicknamed Rutherford, and it was
That's pretty clever for 1877.
So,
That's pretty clever. Yeah, the removal of federal troops from the South was really like the death blow for Reconstruction.
Well, and it is what truly opened up Jim Crow laws.
Right.
Really gets going right at that point.
Because the only thing that was holding back Jim Crow and the Klan was Ulysses Grant and federal enforcement with federal troops in the South. And now that that's off the table, I mean, it's off the table, and it's just...
Yeah, well, I mean, Republicans were correct that the Reconstruction, it was too early to remove it, but Democrats were also right that it was mishandled so poorly in all of the scandals that were coming out with Grant, and so...
It's fruit from the poisonous tree. We don't know, other than Abraham Lincoln, no one has had a clean hand in this, and no one has handled this properly. This has been a boondoggle from basically the beginning. We're just going to wipe it clean. Like, yes, we ratified the amendments, and yes, we're back in the Union, all that stuff. So it's not like there's no teeth, but they're like little baby teeth. They're not the pointy teeth. They're like you only have like the front teeth, so you can't do anything meaningful with it. You just sort of are like, well, on paper you have these rights, but no one's going to enforce them in the South. So, but Rutherford B. Hayes is president. Isn't that cool for you?
Yeah.
Good luck voting for him, but he's president.
So he. Yeah, we're not even in this presidency yet, but
that's
honestly the most interesting part of his entire life. It
really is, honestly.
I mean, he was from Ohio and part of the there's a string of Ohio presidents that Grant was before him as well, and James Garfield, who comes after him, was also in Ohio, and
very different Ohioan. because it put me to sleep, honestly, researching Rutherford B. Hayes. Kind of simultaneously / in the background undercurrent of all of this. Have you heard of the robber barons?
I don't think so.
Or the captains of industry, depending on who you talk to. Either evil, wicked man or champion of the people. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Andrew Carnegie.
Okay. I know all those names.
Yes, I'm very familiar. Carnegie Hall, J.P. Morgan Bank. Who was the other one? Vanderbilt was one of them. He's got a university. Stanford was another one. He also has a university. So 1860s, 1870s, like, it's kind of Wild West times, roughly, out in the West. But the U.S. is moving from rural agrarian life, and the eastern part of the country is very, very firmly industrialized. So rail systems, shipping, manufacturing, like industrial, like food processing and meat process, all that stuff. Like, it's becoming a grown-up country. And all these things need money and materials to run. So, Rockefeller. Have you heard of monopoly?
Yes.
Okay. So,
I didn't know if there's more to that. Or
yeah. So, in this context, a monopoly is basically if you and I run an ice cream shop, like we each have our own ice cream shops, like we're competing, and I make a better ice cream than you. I make more money than you do. And eventually, I have twice as many customers as you, so I can undercut your price and take even more of your customers away, and then starve your business, and then buy your business, and now your business is my business, and there's just one. And so anyone who wants ice cream in the entire world has to come to my ice cream shop. That's a monopoly. And now, monopolies, like, there's laws, antitrust laws, all that stuff to prevent that, because
of this era.
Because of this era. If I decide tomorrow, no one gets ice cream anymore, I'm not selling it anymore, then no one gets ice cream because no one can sell it.
Yeah.
I've bought all of the ice cream shops. Now imagine if that weren't ice cream, imagine if that were oil or steel.
Yeah.
No more building, no more nothing, because I decided. Because I'm a private person, I have no mandate from the people to run it in a fair way, give access to it. It's not a public resource, it's a private resource, and I own all of it. So Rockefeller did that with oil. Carnegie did that with the rail system. J.P. Morgan did that with another industry. It escapes me. But they cornered big, massive infrastructure industries. Everyone worked for them. They produced all the stuff. Now, they weren't necessarily like evil people. They were very good business people. They made a better, cheaper product more efficiently than their competitors. So they were able to get more money and buy up other businesses. Because now we see competition between businesses as driving innovation. If you have an ice cream shop and I have an ice cream shop, we're competing with each other to make a better product to draw business away from the other ones. That wasn't the mindset back then. It was, we just got out of a war. We're on the tail end kind of upswing from an economic crash. We need money and we need industry to make more money. So if your business is not as good as my business deserves to take over your business, so we can generate as much money and profit as possible to put people to work and produce products, but also I make a crap ton of money. So that's why, like, the robber barons, because if you control critical infrastructure, you control the country, basically, and you're not elected, you're not accountable to anyone. So that's the robber baron side of it. The captain of industry, I make a really, really good product that everyone wants and everyone needs, and like the country is built off of that. And so why shouldn't I be rewarded for me taking all the risk? I'm putting up all my own money. Now with railroads and steel, there's a lot of like government subsidies and government permits that, you know, you can't just put up a private railroad. The government has to give you permission to do that. But the government is incentivized to give you permission to do that to generate more money. And if the people can make more money, then we can extract more taxes from them and do more stuff for more people and expand. Like, the one hand washes the other kind of thing. The thing about it is that this train had no brakes. It just self-perpetuated until it was just these 3 or 4 guys who owned basically every piece of critical infrastructure. And there were no labor laws. Like, 8-hour workdays did not exist. Child labor laws did not really exist. So we're going to put the little kid in the coal mine. And their tiny little fingers can get all little pieces of coal. And we're going to put people in meatpacking plants for 18 hours with blood up to their knees because we don't care. And we still don't really know about germs. So, like, it was not good, but we made a lot of money. That's the story of America. It was not good, but we made a lot of money.
Is that what leads to the Great Railroad Strike?
Yes.
Basically, okay. Think of summer of 2020.
Oh, no.
But with trains. So that's kind of what happened. So
oh, no.
This is in Hayes' first year.
Yeah.
A huge, so with everything you just said, leads to the biggest labor strike in our country's history. And we've mentioned this a little bit before, but Thomas Jefferson had signed in the Insurrection Act. And so you could use federal troops to be allowed to, I mean, we're also kind of seeing it today with like Washington, D.C. and things like that. So be able to legally bring down uprisings and things like that. And so Hayes ends up using that to the largest scale at that point. And it was like the first time it was, especially for something that was going pretty much, at least from middle America over to the east, where all of these huge riots and everything from the, all the railroad, all the economic stuff, because wages were super low, and like what you said, they weren't increasing anything. And so, in fact, a lot of times they were decreasing wages, because like we said, there was a huge depression throughout the 1860s and 70s, and I think unemployment was close to 10%.
Yeah, which is
like that.
It doesn't sound like a lot. What, like, it's usually like 3 or 4.
Yeah, right. So, and you know, Baltimore and Chicago and Philadelphia, these are huge ports for railroads, and they're huge areas for labor uprisings and riots and things like that. And so we're talking burning down buildings and union departments and things like that. And so that goes on. Thankfully, it only goes on for a few weeks. It's like in the summer. It's always the summer.
It's riot season and fighting season. Yeah. People get pissed off, and we just, think about it. When it's 97 degrees outside, and you're a rail worker, and you're getting paid whatever J.D. Rockefeller wants to pay you today, and you know that you can't quit because where are you going to work? Yeah. He owns that too. And there's 10 dudes behind you who will work for that 20 cents. They're called scabs. Because if you strike...
scabs, yeah.
Yeah, fun fact, if there's a strike, that means work is not done until we get better working conditions or better wages or whatever we want. That's collective bargaining with unions, which were illegal. It was like a seditious conspiracy type of thing almost, because at this point the country is not focused on individuals doing well, it's focused on making money and generating capital and furthering industry to keep the country alive. So there's some logic to it, but at the base person level it's terrible and people are just replaceable. So someone strikes, that work isn't done because they're holding out for better conditions. Well, if Jim Bob down the street, he doesn't care. I'm making no money, and 20 cents an hour is better than 0 cents an hour. So I'm going to come in and take your job, and I'm just going to do the work anyways. Those are called scabs, and they're not looked upon favorably. But that creates the workers, the scabs who want to come in and take those jobs away from them. Now they want to fight. Then you have the bosses who want to keep production going, and now you have the government who says you're going to keep production going or we're going to shoot you until you either go back to work or you're dead. And then the scabs come in anyways, so go back to work. And I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, and this is, like I said, keep in mind, this is his first, I mean, geez, at this time inauguration was in March, so this is only 4 months into his presidency, and so I'll give him credit I can get into this a little bit once we get to the end of his term, and especially after, where there was much more of an economic boom that was happening, but it takes time. It's like so coming out of a decade-long depression, this was kind of just something he inherited, and it just fell into his lap. Yeah. So it's kind of, you can't blame him for the strike happening, even though he was president for it, but you can look to see how he's going to handle it. And I think the way he handled it was really well. There was a lot of political pressure on, he was really good at restraining all the federal troops at not doing more harm than they needed to just try to bring down, just to suppress the riots, not necessarily the people.
Yeah.
And like I said, it only lasted a few weeks because part of it was, like I said, he went about it in a better way than he could have. But also there wasn't political support for it. Usually when you have stuff like this and they tense up way more, it's because a party really agrees with it. Like I mentioned with BLM, there was a lot of political support through that whole thing, and a couple very prominent politicians bailing out rioters and things like that. And
it reduces the risk of doing crazy stuff if you're not going to have to pay the penalty for it.
And crazy knee-jerk reactions on new laws and new social orders and stuff with the 2021. With this, both parties luckily were just like, no, we actually need to come together and help put this down. So
you're blocking the money. Like, please get out of the way. Like, do a riot on a social issue that doesn't cost anything. You're blocking the Transcontinental Railroad and like.
Right.
Come on, guys. We gotta,
help us help you.
Please don't make us kill you. United States government, don't make us kill you.
But okay. So that's kind of it for that piece. Now we're in the midterms.
Midterms? I love midterms.
Yeah, we haven't talked about midterms a ton.
They haven't been ultra significant except for a handful of times. I mean, almost always, like, someone gets elected, that party takes the majority almost always, and then midterms happen, and people get pissed off, like, oh, you screwed up this, because, like, you make big promises on the campaign trail. There's a lot of hope. And then you get into the office, and you're like, oh, I can't do anything. Or I can do, like, a really, like, slimmed down version of what I said I was going to do. And it's not their fault. Their job is not to be, like, politically savvy. But the average person says, you told me you were going to do this. You didn't do that. And none of your friends did that either. And you promised me that. You're done. I'm voting for the other guy. Like, that's generally how midterms go.
Well, yeah. And even with that, he proposed a new amendment that would make it so that the presidency was just one term, and it would last 6 years. What do you think about that?
Well, that is interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I think it could work. I can see how it could work, because, like, with 4 years, you spend a lot of time, money up front getting elected. Then you've got, like, a good 12, 18 months of actually doing stuff. And then you have to worry about midterms. And this is also modern politics, where the president is the head of that party. And this wasn't really the case back then, but now.
Well, it's kind of the first public case for term limits, too.
So,
it's kind of ahead of his time.
Yeah, honestly. Probably he's like, no one does this very well for 8 years. So let's just cut it down and just do one and done. So I get the logic of it. I feel like it could work, because you have enough time to get stuff done. Then there's midterms. Then you have to recover from midterms. Then you have another midterm, recover from that, and then you're done. So it really, like, the big political swings that we see every 4 years, from, like, Republican to Democrat, Republican to Democrat, Democrat, Republican, Republican. Like, those big swings, they happen very, very quickly. In one sense, that's good, because the chief executive of the country is responsive to the will of the people, and we're not stuck with someone for 10 years or however long they want to stay. You only got to hold out for a few more years. You'll probably get by. 6 years is a long time. A lot can happen in 6 years. But the president can focus on governing and not on campaigning. Because back-to-back terms, you get 8 total years, but probably 2, maybe 3 years of actual governance. With a 6-year single term, you probably get a good 4, maybe 5 years, depending on how the second midterm goes. You might be a lame duck for 2 years. That would suck. But most of the time they are anyway.
I'm assuming it would make the midterms be every 3 years then, if that were to happen.
Maybe, but then you'd throw off the House, because they're in for 4 years.
I mean, I guess he'd have to really reshape.
We have to reshape the entire government, which is, I mean, I'm not against that necessarily, but I see the logic in it. He was ahead of his time, and I do like term limits. Yeah, I really do like term limits.
No, it is interesting if there was a 6-year term. I mean, we'll never know, but
we might. Yeah, we just need a coalition in Congress.
I guess.
Christian goes to Congress.
Yeah,
I have one issue. Yeah. It's called the Rutherford Plan. Yeah. 1 6-year term.
Let's go on here. So midterms. So Democrats end up winning pretty handily, and obviously Hayes is still fairly unpopular, even though he did gain a lot of support after the railroad strike thing. Still the election, and it's not gonna. The election was decided by a group of people in a room, not by
He was never ultimately popular to begin with.
Yeah.
And like, oh, great job, Ruth. You didn't kill as many people as you could have. Great job. Thank you.
But then at the height of this too is, have you heard of the Greenback Party?
Yeah.
Okay, it was very quickly fizzled out super fast, but this third party starts emerging that is just truly pure populist, and they end up kind of taking away a lot of support.
Oh, they Ross Perot him.
You basically, because it's like grumpy, disenfranchised Republicans, and also poor people. So also people in the South who could be Democrats too, but like mostly people up north, and it all is basically created because of the economic depression that there is, and they end up. We'll get into it with the next episode, but they end up actually trying to put up a candidate to win it and try to do a full Ralph Nader on it. But, it doesn't last very long though, because there was really no leader of it, and so it kind of just dissipated. And also it dissipated because the economy was getting better, and so then there was really no use for it. So
remember how you were poor? Actually, I'm doing much better now. Let's not rock the boat.
It's kind of weird how those things like that happen. They rely on people suffering in order for them to gain more relevancy and popularity. I was reading about Vladimir Lenin and how he part of during the Russian monarchy before the Tsar was overthrown, people were like, "Oh no, like things are actually looking a little bit better now." And he was like,
"Makes them worse.
You're suffering. No, this is bad." So it's funny how it's like, I thought you were like on the side of the people, but
I am, but only when they're doing bad.
You're right.
No one cares about my wacky ideas when everyone's fed.
Yeah.
But if you starve, well, it seems like we could do anything.
Well, one thing the Greenback Party does that does stick is they're a huge proponent of paper money. So during the Civil War, we start having paper money because of the economic disaster that was the Civil War and going away from gold and silver. But then after that was done, we started going back to gold and silver. But the argument was that there just isn't enough money. There's just not enough money. Like people,
you know what we need in this country? Quantitative easing.
Yeah. So they really push for paperback money, and so that ends up taking off a lot more starting here in the next decade to come. So they did kind of leave a bit of an impression.
Sure.
So. And then, if you got anything else, or you can...
No, I mean, I think the big thing still is civil service reform. So, like, trying to end the spoils system. I think Hayes acknowledged it. He wasn't necessarily a fan of it, although he did benefit from it. But he had...
we'll get into the Pendleton
Yes.
plan with Garfield, and that really ends that. But here,
he had, number one, he had bigger fish to fry than civil service reform, and just like always, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Remember those robber barons who have a lot of money? Well, they give a lot of money to political parties and organizations, and I mean, you're fighting an uphill battle, and if you don't have the stones for it, it's not going to work. Even if you do have the stones for it, they might just shoot you in the back for it. So, he kind of left that one, that one alone, and just sort of moved on. It wasn't like the top issue for the people either, so he didn't have a super incentive to tackle it. But it was in the public consciousness. I mean, people don't like knowing that the government is openly corrupt. They just don't like it. It's not a good look. So they're like, you should fix that. He's like, someone should fix that. Well, who would fix it except you, Mr. President? Look at the riots. I can't. Tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think, he's probably a peg up higher than I had him before. I didn't know that much about him.
Sure.
But just kind of middle of the line. Maybe the top half of the middle of the pack, kind of.
D plus tier.
D plus.
C minus tier. I think, compare him to Grant. I think their contexts were different. Their personalities were different.
He was able to make the economy improve, but...
Was he able to make it improve, or was it going to improve and he just inherited it like he inherited the strikes? Because you got these robber barons in the background, or captains of industry in the background. They're moving and shaking, and we'll debate Reaganomics for sure, but when there is someone who has money at the top and they want to make more money, they have to hire more people to make them more money. And so were the wages good? No. Were the conditions good? No. But people were making money. There was economic activity, jobs were created. So it does take time to get that big engine moving, but like that was the engine for the late 19th century and early 20th century. So, I mean, you can't really talk about, just like you can't lay blame on a president who inherits something. It's hard to give credit to a president who stepped in when something had been in motion 4 years before him. So, but also, you can navigate that poorly. So, he didn't navigate it poorly. He didn't make it worse.
I think he was just, Grant was, wanted to do the right thing with civil service things, and Hayes just wanted to do the right thing by just with money.
Don't make it worse.
Yeah.
Don't make it worse. Let it get better.
So, yeah, I mean, him cutting off and allowing the South to really steamroll with Jim Crow laws, and there's a ton of more voter suppression with black people and stuff.
It came right back.
But it's like the Reconstruction was really unpopular on both sides of it, so it was a losing battle.
Yeah.
So he kind of just like, all right, well, I guess it's just not my problem.
Yeah, there's bigger fish to fry, honestly. And it's a pretty big fish, but there are bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Thanks, Ruth.
Yep. We passed you by. So we said we'd talk about you, and we did.
We did.
What else
by
do you
thunder.
want? Yep.
He's number 18, right?
19.
19. Yeah.
We're moving along.
Moving along. We're halfway through.
Yeah. Well, be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.